Hey everyone, so I just put together a quick presentation on alcohol which discusses its molecular formula, its effect on our bodies, and how it's viewed socially and scientifically. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentation. So what is the molecular structure of alcohol? Well, first we need to discuss how alcohol is actually called ethyl alcohol or ethanol. Ethanol has an empirical formula of C2H6O, or a more important molecular formula of CH3CH2OH. Now, an alcohol is defined as any organic compound in which a hydroxyl group, OH, is bound to a carbon atom, which in turn is bound to other hydrogen or carbon atoms. This is the molecular structure of ethanol. Notice the OH group right here, and this is actually called a functional group. Now, the other functional group, which is in ethanol, is the ethyl group. And this ethyl group is right here. That's what gives it the C2H5. So if you take the C2H5 and add it to the OH, you get C2H6O. So the next thing we need to discuss is how the molecular structure of alcohol contributes to its effect on our bodies. So polarity is one of the most important things when we're discussing the impact of alcohol. To do this, we need to look at the Lewis structure of ethanol, which is displayed right here. And here you can very clearly see the two functional groups, OH being right here and the C2H5 being right here. So alcohols follow the bent shape, which is displayed right here. Alcohols being the ones with the OH hydroxyl group within it. Similarly, the ethyl, the CH3CH2, is tetrahedral, which you can see right here. So one of the most key aspects that alcohol or ethanol has is that it is polar from the hydroxyl OH, but non-polar from the C2H5. That's the CH or the H3CCH2. And by being both polar and non-polar, ethanol can be absorbed by the body better. So this hydroxyl group right here, that enables hydrogen bonding. The hydroxyl group is polar and allows alcohol to dissolve in the blood, which is composed of the polar water. Remember, polar dissolves polar, non-polar dissolves
Non-polar.
like dissolves like. Now, meanwhile, the ethyl group, which is right here, allows the alcohol to be absorbed by lipids, which too are non-polar. Now, many of alcohol's direct side effects come from its ethyl functional group. Some of these side effects include drowsiness, vomiting, paleness of the face, kidney damage, increases in capillary bleeding, and severe falls in blood pressure. So, right from the molecular structure, we can see that there are quite dangerous side effects related to consumption of alcohol. So let's discuss the effects of alcohol consumption on the brain. Alcohol affects areas involved in memory formation, decision making, and impulse control. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that transmit signals throughout the body. These neurotransmitters are what tricks the brain into various sensations. There are two words which are vital in understanding alcohol's effects on the brain. These are excitatory, which increases electrical activity in the brain, and inhibitory, which decreases electrical activity in the brain. So one of the receptors that alcohol affects are the GABA receptors. Alcohol overstimulates the GABA receptors in the brain, which are inhibitory receptors. This can result in impaired senses like slurred speech and sluggish movements. Here we can see the normal GABA receptor and GABA, which are being easily received by the GABA receptors, while the alcohol-induced GABA receptors are having their spots taken up by alcohol molecules. We can see the effects of alcohol consumption on GABA receptors much closer in this video. Again, the alcohol is binding to the receptors, preventing the actual GABA from binding. Now, the effects of alcohol consumption on the brain is not limited to GABA alone. In fact, there's a quite large problem in its effect on glutamate receptors in the brain. Alcohol binds to glutamate receptors, which are excitatory. By binding to the glutamate, it prevents the actual glutamate from being absorbed. We can see this really well in this animation, again by Mouse Party from the University of Utah. See, this is a normal. And normally, the glutamate should be easily able to be absorbed by the receptors right here. Now, in the next video, we're able to see how the alcohol takes up the spot. See, these alcohol molecules end up taking the spots on the receptors, preventing the actual glutamate from being absorbed. Some of the side effects of alcohol binding to the glutamate receptors, especially in pregnant women, is a disease called fetal alcohol syndrome. Fetal alcohol syndrome is a disease that causes permanent brain damage to fetuses. Another side effect of glutamate contamination by alcohol is just brain damage, which is applicable for pretty much all users of alcohol. Now let's transition into the social and scientifically accepted facts on alcohol. The scientific community has accepted that many diseases are linked to alcohol at some level of overconsumption. These side effects include cirrhosis of the liver, cardiovascular disease, which can in turn lead to heart attack or stroke, cancer through the formation of acetaldehyde from ethanol in the liver, as well as eating disorders like anemia, depression, and high blood pressure. Let's now take a look at some facts about alcohol. They're displayed on the screen for you guys to see. But pretty much the big idea of this is that drinks in small amounts are not detrimental towards health. However, it's very easy for quantities to increase rapidly when you're trying to say, well, why don't we just try one drink? Another major problem that we as just normal citizens experience are frequent contradictions on the positives and negatives of alcohol consumption we see in the news. So these contradictions mainly exist through articles stating that alcohol is positive for health, while others stating the exact opposite. Some articles have linked alcohol consumption to increased incomes, while others have deemed it to be a wage killer. In fact, a study by NIH, like one of the most prominent sources of information, like specifically says that that there are these discrepancies within the scientific community on the impact of alcohol on economical status. The legal age to drink in many states is 21, while many people start earlier. Additionally, it's legal for minors to have drinks if given by a parent or in the presence of a parent. Furthermore, some articles claim that one glass of red wine is beneficial for proper heart health, while others are directly link it to heart disease and stroke. I mean, we kind of see that even the ethyl group, it's directly linked to heart attack, stroke, and heart disease. Here's a quick diagram on the effects of alcohol and specifically on different races as well as gender. The studies show that alcohol consumption, regardless of race, is nearly double for men when compared to women. Statistically, men drink more frequently and in larger quantities than females. According to an article, men feel a much stronger feel-good rush when compared to women, making them drink even more. So whatever it is, it's pretty scary for us as boys that we are much more likely to go down a path of alcoholism than our female counterparts. Well, that's all I have for my presentation on alcohol. Thank you so much for listening.